Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today, Jeff and I are probably going to make some people angry because we're going to talk about each of our one player that we will not draft in 2021. And it's probably going to be a good player. But there's reasons why we don't want them, and not everyone's going to agree. I know that. I know how this works. So, and I'm not even going to say it's a bad move necessarily, but just won't be the move we make. So here we go, Jeff. I'm very curious who you've picked as your guy that you will not draft in 2021. Who you got?
So the one guy I'm not going to draft, and I already know this because he is never going to fall to a position where I feel comfortable doing it. He's a incredibly good player, but it's going to be Alvin Kamara. We've talked about it before. We've talked about it before, but the truth is you have to get him in round one. It's just what you're going to have to do. And there's plenty of good running backs behind him like Chubb or Jonathan Taylor that I feel more comfortable taking because I know that they're going to get the same amount of playing time. Drew Brees, him leaving the Saints, or him retiring more accurately, is no small thing. I mean, it really is a big thing. It's going to shake things up. You're going to have a Jameis Winston. You're going to have a Hill. It all depends on who is going to be quarterback and how they're going to play. It's going to be it is going to be different. And on top of that is Kamara is incredibly talented on every aspect of the ball, but they've never force-fed him the ball. He has 194, 171, 187 rushes the last 3 years. On the other end of the ball, he's had 81, 81, and 83 receptions. So I think the receptions can definitely be the area that is going to be a detriment no matter who is throwing the ball. Even as Jameis, he's definitely, he can throw short to him, so could Hill. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen. And we've talked about it before. I'll try to link the other video here in the audio if you're watching on YouTube. But the thing is too is he is, when he's very, very good, he scores a lot of touchdowns. When he's a little bit more average, once again, he's still a very good player, he doesn't score those. And 2019 is a great idea of what can possibly happen when things aren't clicking all the same, even though you have very similar numbers as far as attempts or receptions. And he goes from the sandwiching years of 2018, 2020, 14 rushing touchdowns and 16 rushing touchdowns. 2019, only 5. And yes, he did only play, and he played 14 games. And as far as the receiving ones, it goes from 4 and 5 to 1. So that is my biggest fear, is if the offense overall is not clicking because they're a little bit out of sync, they're not used to being without Brees. Michael Thomas had a really off year. It's going to be an adjustment thing. If it's not doing that, if they're not getting in the red zone, he has less attempts. He has less, opportunities to get into the end zone, and that is what I'm worried about. And he is going to go probably top 5.
He will, he'll go top 5.
So that is why I'm just not going to be able to draft him. Love him as a raw player, but fantasy this year, I'm going to jump over him, get him someone else that is going to probably outproduce him, even if they're not quite the player he is.
It becomes. It's just that little bit of question mark that you don't want in your first round guy. That's what it is. It's just you don't want question marks in my first round. I just don't want it. It's hard to get completely away from question marks, obviously, but that's a situation where we just don't know how that's going to play out. And Taysom Hill isn't going to go away. That's my thing. It doesn't matter if Jameis is the guy right off the bat, because I think he will be. Jameis Winston can have bad games, and all of a sudden, Sean Payton loves Taysom Hill. He's going to throw him in there. And that's my worry. It doesn't work as well. So I'm with you.
Yeah, and just to show it even more so, Taysom Hill had 8 rushing touchdowns last year.
Yep.
And you know that he started 4 games, or is it 3? I believe 4. We'll just say that. I believe that the majority of them came in that too. I think it was 6 of the touchdowns came in those games. If he does play quarterback at all, or even if he's in the game, that directly impacts Alvin Kamara. So another great point. So I'm actually very interested as well. We talk about this stuff a lot, but it does change quite a bit. Who is the guy that you're never going to draft?
So it probably won't be a terrible big surprise to everybody. It's Julio Jones. So
Julio and Alvin, dude, people are arguing.
I know, and I've heard it. I've heard it on Instagram this offseason with Julio, and people are just not happy with that. Oh, I'll take Julio all day and be good. And he might be. He very well could just be another 100 catch, 1,400 yard season. 14 touchdowns. I'm not saying that could happen. Couldn't happen. And if it does, you might get Julio at a good value, honestly. But I just don't. There's more than one factor. 32 years old, coming off an injury, don't love it. 32 years old isn't a death sentence for wide receivers at all. It isn't. There's been a lot of receivers that have been good at 32. There's others that they're done by 32, before 32. Calvin Johnson didn't even make it past 30. So other players, I think Andre Johnson, his final good season was when he was 32. So you've seen that. There's other guys that have been, long term, they've been around. But that's one factor. Age, coming off an injury, don't love it. Julio has seemed to be banged up. He hasn't missed a lot of games over his career necessarily. Last year was probably the most, but he always seems like he's banged up. You know what I mean? It just feels like there's some little lingering thing. But the other thing is all the trade rumors going on right now. So if, let's say that were to happen, honestly, if he isn't traded by the time we're drafting, that's still on your mind, because it's not out of the realm of possibility that it could happen and he could get traded even after you draft. It's possible. It's not crazy. But if he is traded before that, I don't love that either. I don't, it depends on the situation maybe, but I don't really love, what situation would there, I don't know what's out there where Julio could go that I would be like, yep, I'm all on board. I don't know what that is.
There's very few. And first of all, he's going to have to be, I don't know what is in his contract if he gets to decide if he has that kind of power where he can say, no, I don't want to be traded to that team. But first of all, you would have to believe that the only people that would be interested in that kind of contract for, even though he's a very good wide receiver, someone of that age would have to be someone going for a title right now, right? So you have to be thinking Aaron Rodgers stays with the Packers and they trade for him. That would be the first one in my mind. Or it would be, I can't imagine KC being able to do it. I can't imagine.
Right. Okay. So here's.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of places. Honestly, that's the thing. There's not a big trade market.
Because honestly, the thoughts in my mind. Okay, yeah. If he went to, like you said, those are literally the two that came to my mind. If he went to the Packers, he went to the Chiefs. I'm like, okay, I like that. And he's not necessarily he's the two there, which neither one of those spots. But still, those one. Okay, yeah. Here's a website that just said 4 most sensible trade destinations. These are where you could go. Baltimore.
No.
Raiders.
No.
Eagles.
Oh my God.
We like Hurts, but we don't like Hurts for him.
No.
And then Colts.
That one would be interesting.
Colts if Wentz can play.
Yes, there's a lot to be determined about that, but that is an interesting one.
The Colts are more interesting. That's one that I would look at. And somebody else put Patriots. God, no.
I would still be interested, but yeah.
Okay, but yeah, there we go. I just don't see the spot where because he's not going to the Packers, he's not going to the Chiefs. Colts, yeah, that's a little more intriguing, but it doesn't necessarily mean I want to draft him.
No.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Still don't. And right now he's about 12th or 13th in the ranks, so he's still like a back end wide receiver 1. So I can see why some people might think, oh, we can get some value there, but I don't want the guy who. I don't want it. I just don't want it.
Well, also think about this is Julio Jones. He's one of the greatest to ever play the game. At wide receiver. He just is.
Yep.
And right now the number, when you were talking about where he's going to get drafted at 12 or 13, that's also not normal people drafting. That is
true.
So that is whatever you call
because he's going to go ahead of Keenan Allen. He's going to go ahead of Terry McLaurin.
He's going to be in the top 10.
And he's going to go ahead of Allen Robinson.
Yeah. You're telling me even if it's only 10 teams, you're telling me in a 10-team league, there's not one guy that loves him more than those guys? Mm-hmm. Heck, man. You see those names and you haven't really dug into it that much, I would automatically just blindly take him too.
And the guys right now in the ranks after him are Michael Thomas and Chris Godwin. So
okay, Well, that's crazy because those guys are definitely going to jump.
Well,
above
it's Godwin. It's or not Godwin.
Michael Thomas.
It's the same quarterback situation we just talked about. It's the question marks. But
even with that, I mean, if Jameis is there, I like him more than I like Julio. Because at least he's number one.
If Jameis is the quarterback, I love this for Michael Thomas. I don't know what it means for Alvin Kamara.
No, 100%. It was bad. It's bad.
But I like it for Michael Thomas. So all right, there we go. Those are two players we're just not going to draft. Not saying they're bad players. They're not.
No, they're wonderful.
It's just that they won't ever come. Just like I'm not going to draft Patrick Mahomes. I could have said, you know what I mean? Like it's not going to happen. But those are two guys we're just not going to touch this year in 20.
Yeah, and for good reason too. It's reasons on top of already being drafted high.
Exactly. So all right, that'll do it for today. Talk to you guys next time.